Good afternoon, everybody. So I wanted to do a video. I recently sat down with a local fire victim and also a member of this El Dorado County insurance community page, and was very blessed that he took the time to sit down, have a beer with me on Sunday, and really kind of give me a real life education of what happens during the claims period, not what insurance companies tell us is going to happen, but what's actually truly happening when they're going through a fire claim. So first off, Jim, thank you very much for your time. So appreciative. I think that this is going to be very educational for a lot of people in this community. So one of the things that we've really stressed throughout the time here is about your personal property limits, what that looks like, how to capture that. I can tell you that during my 20 plus years of helping customers, the most tedious and frustrating and the process that causes the most tears and anger during a fire claim is the personal property portion. So the first piece that he gave me was that fire claims are not equal in the way that they're treated. You have the notoriety fires like Paradise, Carr, Santa Rosa, where an insurance company, because of the massive claims, will treat it differently. They'll say we'll negotiate a certain percentage. In most cases, it's around 70%, that we're going to negotiate and we'll pay this out to you. They don't do that for individual fires. For individual fires, they actually make them go through that process of chronicalizing what you owned before the fire. So his suggestion, my suggestion that we've had before, is go room to room and really take pictures, take an inventory of what your personal property is, your shoes, your belts, your underwear. I mean, get tedious with this, because these are all the things that you're going to want back after a fire. And then send that information to the cloud for safekeeping. Now, one of the pieces that I never really thought about to instruct people that makes complete sense is your important documents. He stated that fireproof safes are not fireproof. They will burn, and it is best to do a twofold approach. Scan all of your important documents, send those to the cloud, and then anything that's of true importance that you really need to rebuild your life, passports, immigration papers, whatever it may be, make sure that you're also storing those maybe at a safe deposit box, someplace else that is going to be a lot safer for you than where you're at. Now, as we saw in Paradise and other fires, banks burn too, right? But ultimately, you want to try to protect this stuff as much as possible. And then open your junk drawers. Another thing that I really didn't think about is you've got a lot of miscellaneous items in these junk drawers. We all do it. And to try to have to remember what was in your junk drawer, I can imagine is going to be very frustrating. So maybe you have old cell phones, watches that you just haven't gotten repaired yet, odds and ends, tools, things like that, that start to collect value when you really look at the overall contents of that drawer. Buy your big stuff on Amazon. So there's no trying to remember what model it was. You have all the specifications, exactly what you paid for, that you're able to quickly go back into your order history and look at. So keep those for you. And really just make sure that you continue to do this as you purchase new items. Scan those receipts. If you didn't buy them from somewhere, you can go back in the order history, scan those receipts, and also include that and keep adding to a continuous file that you can then just turn over to the adjuster at the time of a loss and say, here you go. So great information. Thank you so much for that. And then there's a couple other things that we just kind of talked about in his experience. One of them that he brought up was what he called fire chasers. So these were these contractors that were reaching out, trying to ask to advocate on his behalf, that he ultimately was able to recognize that they really didn't have his best interest at heart, and they may create a contentious relationship with the insurance company that he's trying to mitigate this claim with. So be wary of those people. Really face and think about and vet who you're going to be using as a contractor to help you, so as to keep your building costs down as low as possible through this process. And then his rebuild costs, he's seeing now. Most of what the recommendations are that we're getting is, be insured for no less than $300 a square foot up here in the mountains. Cover those demand surge. Don't just do replacement costs, which, by the way, 5 people just today from this morning forwarded me other quotes where they not only showed that their previous insurance may have had them insured for $400,000, but now this agent saying, okay, well, we're only going to do replacement costs for you to save you some bucks, and we're going to insure you at $300,000. Or they're just in general only doing the replacement cost, yet they're informing customers that California Fair Plan has an extended replacement fire coverage that it does not have. Whatever your scheduled is on that fair plan is going to be the most that you're going to get in the event of a total loss. So keep that in mind, because as what he's seeing is, even with his extended replacement cost, a lot of these ordinances, a lot of these changes with EPA requirements, things like that, that we just don't really think about came into play. And if he had done just replacement costs, would be close to almost $300,000 underinsured for rebuilding his house, as he's seeing close to almost $400 a square foot to rebuild a single house. Now we're looking at demand surge, where tons of homes are going to be affected, and trying to cut as much coverage as we can for those building cost increases, for the fire chasers, for these new ordinances, all these buckets of money that you're going to need that ultimately are driven from that dwelling reconstruction cost. If your dwelling reconstruction cost starts out low, then your ordinance and law starts out low. Your fair rental value is going to start out low. So the fair rental value, or actual loss of use coverage, is what is going to provide you as a place to live someplace else in the event that you are displaced from your home. Now, what we've tried to do is, what is the common rent around the area? What could it possibly go up to in demand surge if there's a limitation of homes? And try to build your loss of use coverage around there. And what a very big piece of information that he gave me is that's not how they're treating his claim. How they treated it was, what would your home have been rented for before the fire? And that's what we're going to base your monthly costs off of. So let's say you have a $2,500 mortgage payment, but your rent would have only been going for $1,700. You have a gap in that loss of use coverage. You're having to live someplace else, say maybe for $2,500. Then you have a $2,500 mortgage payment that you're trying to satisfy, and so you're actually in the hole every month on top of all the stress that you're dealing with trying to rebuild. So make sure you're not undercutting that cost, and try to cap it out wherever you can, and try to increase some of those coverages so that you can keep that limit as close to true as possible at the time of a loss for you. So I think my biggest lesson is that what people tell us on the company side is actually happening versus what Jem went through, a big learning lesson for me, things that I will change moving forward in some of the discussions that we have. But just know that you ultimately have to be your biggest advocate when you're going through this. You can self-insure some of these things, but make sure that they're the right things. Make sure that you don't end up in a situation where Jim could have, if he were in the fair plan with this situation and he didn't do enough demand surge coverage into that dwelling cost. So again, I want to thank you, Jem, and I really hope that individuals will take this opportunity in this strand to really ask him questions, really kind of pick his brain, because he's in the thick of it right now. There's so much knowledge that he has to share with not only agents like myself, but the all of our constituents, or not constituents, I'm sorry, but all of the political leaders within the community, of what's actually happening versus what they think is happening. So again, very blessed that he sat down. I hope some of this helps you. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out to us, reach out to Jem, and again, just be your biggest advocate and really pay attention to what you guys have and the information that's being provided. And if you look at your replacement cost on a home and you think it's really too low, chances are that it is. So keep that in mind. And again, thank you so much for being part of this community, and we wish you guys a very happy day, and we'll talk to you all soon.